What's going on, guys? It's Filmington, and in today's video we're going to be talking about Fernando Tatis and the impact of his hobby values. Now, yep, he made a mistake. Yep, it was a dumb mistake. He deserves to get punished for it. His card values deserve to get punished for that, and they have gone down. But let's unpack that, because I think there's a little bit more there than what a lot of people are saying, a lot of the talking heads. Yes, his career will be forever tarnished. Yes, there's no precedent for somebody getting a positive reported test and being in the Hall of Fame, but I think there's a little bit more there given Tatis' situation. So first of all, let's focus on the facts here. He screwed up. It was one drug test. He had a promising career. Let's look at somebody kind of similar, Robinson Cano. He had 4 top 5 MVP finishes between the years of 2010 to 2014. That included 1 top 3 finish, 8 All-Star games, 5 Silver Slugger awards, and today his first Bowman Prospect card, Bowman Chrome, sells for $1 raw. Yep, $1. I mean, this is a guy with a Fangraphs and Baseball Reference WAR of the 58 to 68 range, and I mean, if he was on his way, he was on a trajectory, and he got popped, and now nobody collects him. Now Tatis, I think it's a fair comp right now, because Tatis has 2 top 5 MVP finishes. Obviously, he's only 23 years old. There could be many more to come. One of those is a top 3 finish, 2 Silver Sluggers, 13.6 B-WAR. Again, 23 years old. But just because there's not a whole lot of comps out there for Tatis, we'll use that Cano one right now, and we'll just explain how these are a little bit different. Now, Cano, when he failed his first drug test, he had already accomplished most of what's on his resume today. So one could look back and invalidate everything and just assume that he had been cheating for a longer period of time. Also, who collected cards back in 2005? That, for a lot of people, that was the infamous hiatus that we all took. We went to college, we focused on other things, and we waited for the hobby to kind of come back, or for us to rediscover the hobby. I know a lot of people collected throughout, but that's more of the minority. Also, throughout Cano's prime in the early 2010s, again, the hobby was a little dormant based on the time period of when Cano played and when he hit his prime. There just weren't a whole lot of collectors out there, so there just weren't going to be as many card collectors of Cano. So I think that's one of the reasons that separates him. You could look back at Albert Pujols and make some comparisons from him to Mike Trout and say somewhat of the same thing. Like, how many Pujols Facebook groups are there that are around versus a Mike Trout collector group? So one of the reasons probably that explains the disparities in their market caps of their top rookie cards. Tatis is also a little bit different. While Cano did play for the Yankees for about half his career, right? Tatis, when he comes back, he is going to still be one of the most electrifying players and most popular players in the sport. He can do things that nobody else on the field can do. He's contributing on both sides of the ball. He's flashy. He's exciting to watch. He's exceptionally good when he's healthy, and he's going to be on the field again soon at some point in 2023. I think he's still going to be well-liked. I think a lot of people are going to be like, dude, and he might lose a little bit of fandom, but still, we're looking at 1.3 million followers on Instagram. There's probably fewer than 1.3 million card collectors in the entire world, to be honest. So I think he will keep most of his fans. And unlike Robinson Cano, so Robinson Cano had some really solid years, around 8 WAR. One of his best years was during the Miguel Cabrera Triple Crown year, which Mike Trout also put up a 10 WAR that season, I believe. So, a victim of circumstance a little bit, but I think Tatis has the ability to go above what Cano did, to put up a 10 WAR, to be one of the most productive players when he's on the field until his next injury, right? But he has the ability to put up a 10 WAR season, and the hobby tends to be driven by short-term performance still. People are still somewhat dumb to fall into that, and that could be a path in favor of Tatis going forward. Another comp for Tatis, we brought up Cano. Another one is A-Rod. A-Rod, 100-plus WAR. One of the things that's different about A-Rod, I think a lot of us are getting, again, we're growing a little more irritated towards Tatis, but Tatis probably isn't a bad guy, we know for a fact that A-Rod is a sociopath. Like, let's just be serious about this. A lot of people didn't like Bonds, but at least Bonds had some of the support from his own fans. A-Rod never really had that. Maybe for the first couple years, then people got tired of his BS. Maybe when he was with Seattle and the fans didn't really know what kind of a person he was. But A-Rod will be forever disliked. He's doing a great job of rebuilding his reputation after the sport. But a sociopathic trait isn't something that just leaves you. You don't just grow out of that. He's going to be a sociopath. He can maybe do a better job of hiding it now than he used to. Maybe he's making fewer mistakes now, getting a lot of media attention for stupid stuff now than he used to. But for the most part, he's never going to be close to as well liked as Tatis is right now. And granted, that could change with Tatis. He could make a lot more mistakes and show his immaturity and piss people off. And there's going to be a lot of money coming his way over the next 10 to 15 years of his career. And if he doesn't perform up to those expectations, sometimes that's enough for people to kind of turn against you a little bit. But again, with A-Rod, kind of like Cano, he was caught for cheating. I think it was in around like 2013, 2014. He missed the entire 2014 season. And he admitted to cheating and taking PEDs starting in 2001 with the Rangers. So he won 3 MVPs. Those are, perhaps all invalidated because the first one he won was in 2003. They're all dirty. So A-Rod, let's talk about the positive, the optimistic side of A-Rod. He does have some upside when Bonds ever gets into the Hall of Fame. It's, he's past his 10 years, Bonds has. It's going to take the new era. It's going to take a different committee to get him in. But if a new generation of voters thinks that him and maybe Clemens are worthy, then maybe A-Rod gets in too soon after. One would think. He certainly has the numbers that would justify that. So the bullish case for Tatis, going back to Tatis, 23 years old, the rest of his career, most of his career, including his prime, assuming it hasn't passed us already with the whole injury issues and everything, it's going to be allegedly clean. There's going to be people assuming that he's been clean until he gets popped again, right? And I don't know if we have a precedent for this. Most of those other guys that get popped 1, 2, or 3 times, it's after a certain amount of their prime has passed, or at least midway through their careers, for the most part. Now, there are certain players that have gotten popped before that, but they're not really hobby relevant or major league star worthy players to bring up. D. Gordon, maybe that was halfway through his prime. Nelson Cruz, he peaked in his 30s, but that was after midway through his career. So yeah, there's not really a precedent for this exact situation, I would say, with Tatis. David Ortiz is a really nuanced situation. He was part of, I believe, survey testing, and there was a rumor that he maybe failed to test there, although not being in the Mitchell report, although it was thought that he was originally in the Mitchell report. So people don't know if he actually tested positive, and if he did fail a test, what that drug was. So I think the hobby, not even just a hobby, just the world as a whole has decided to just ignore that case with David Ortiz. So, but a very nuanced situation, I think. So Tatis, again, he's really good potential to win an MVP. MVPs drive hobby values. You look at Byron Buxton, he is a lock to not be a Hall of Famer. Like, absolute no chance. Like, probably less of a chance than Pete Alonso, another guy that benefits from short-term performance. But Buxton still sees spikes in his hobby. And for that reason, I think Tatis can as well. I think people understand that Buxton could put up like a 9-WAR season. And despite having a WAR, below 20 at age 30 ish, people still, they still tend to pay a little bit more for his cards during those spikes. And I think Tatis could see that, but on a higher level, because Tatis is much younger, and Tatis is capable, I think, of accomplishing even more, and he's actually less injury prone than Byron Buxton, I think, in my opinion. You might argue with me on that. But so another reason why we shouldn't be too harsh about Tatis is because we kind of already knew he was an idiot. We kind of already knew back issues in 2019, shoulder issues still today, it's not been fixed, 2021 and beyond, and then the wrist issue, right? So we should have already had it baked into our long-term expectations of Tatis that he was never going to reach his potential. So is it fair for his prices to decline 70%, 50 to 70% from the post-wrist injury prices? I don't know. I don't know if that's fair because, again, like, this is a guy that probably wasn't going to reach his potential. And to be fair, most players don't reach their potential, okay? So let's be realistic, you know? Like, I know a lot of people are kind of baking in long-term accomplishments with the prices of some of these younger players, but of everybody, like Tatis, you know, did you really think he was going to finish his career with like an 110, 120 WAR? I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe this is me. You know, and it's not just the injury issues that would give us cause for concern. It's also some behavior that he's shown, some arguments in the dugout, kind of showing to be a selfish player, me first, over what the team's trying to accomplish as a whole. When Manny Machado has to tell you that you're being an ignorant, petulant child, I'm not sure if he actually said that, but if Manny Machado thinks you're too selfish, then you're probably too selfish. You know, we talked about the bullish case for Tatis. There's certainly the bearish case. Just gonna go through some of those points again. He was still popped for PEDs. There's still no precedent for somebody getting a reported positive test and making it into the Hall of Fame. He's still injury prone. He's still an idiot. And he's not looking like a good long-term bet at this time. He makes bad decisions, and bad decisions are usually correlated with future bad decisions for a given individual. So what do we do now? I think at a bare minimum, we as a hobby can learn from this. There's certain off the field, difficult to quantify behaviors or attitudes or lack of maturity or showing poor judgment. You know, these types of personality traits, certain off the field actions, again, where you can start to look at those patterns of Tatis and maybe question whether some other players that you have a lot of money tied up in are showing that. You know, is this a sign of this player potentially being the next Tatis? Will he be another guy? Maybe he doesn't do it in the same way. Maybe he doesn't fail a test, but maybe he does something really stupid where, you know, the chance of them, again, meeting their long-term potential is really not there, like it never really was with Tatis. All right, guys, that's it. What do you think? Let me know down below. Filmington out.